My name is Laura. And when I was 23, I woke up on Christmas Eve to an empty house, completely silent. At first, it didn't feel real. Just an oddly quiet morning. The kind where you expect to hear someone in the kitchen any second. But that day, there was nothing. No footsteps, no voices, no smell of coffee drifting down the hall. Just me alone. I didn't cry. I didn't even panic. Not right away. Instead, I did something else. Something that would change everything. And 5 days later, when my family finally came home, they were the ones screaming. The moment they opened the door, I was gone. But what they walked into was my answer to everything they'd done. If you've ever been betrayed by the people who were supposed to be your biggest supporters, I'd say you'll understand. That morning started like any other, except it didn't. I woke up to silence, which honestly wasn't that weird in itself. I'm usually the first one up, but this was Christmas Eve. We were supposed to leave together that afternoon for our big family vacation, a 5-hour drive to a winter resort, meeting up with extended family, matching pajamas, cheesy pictures by the fire, the whole thing. So, when I realized how quiet it was, I figured maybe everyone had gone out to grab snacks or do a last-minute grocery run. Maybe they'd forgotten eggs or batteries or wrapping paper. You know, normal pre-H holiday chaos. I checked the clock. 9 a.m., not early, not late. The time of day when our house should have been buzzing with movement. My mom yelling about sweaters. My sister arguing over her hair straightener. My dad checking his email for the 10th time. But the house felt still. Too still. I got up, pulled on my hoodie, and stepped into the hallway. The light was still on from the night before, flickering faintly. Downstairs, the sink had one plate in it, mine from dinner. The rest of the kitchen looked untouched. No cups, no crumbs, no coffee mugs, no sign of breakfast, no smell of toast, no clutter of travel bags by the door. When I looked out the window, the driveway was empty. Both cars were gone. My stomach sank. I picked up my phone to call my mom, but when I opened my contacts, her name wasn't there. Neither was my dad's or my siblings or my uncle's who was supposed to meet us there. It was like someone had wiped every trace of my family from my phone. I scrolled through my call history. Blank. The text threads with them gone. Every conversation we'd ever had deleted. But my other messages, coworkers, friends, old reminders, all still there, perfectly untouched. And that's when it hit me. The night before, my younger brother had borrowed my phone. Said he wanted to check the weather for the drive. I hadn't thought twice about it. Why would I? He handed it back with a smirk I didn't think much of at the time. Now I knew why. I tried calling my mom's number from memory, fingers shaking as I dialed. A man answered. Definitely not her. Is this the wrong number? I asked, confused. He sighed. Yeah, wrong number. And hung up. The sound of the disconnecting line echoed louder than it should have. I didn't break down. Not yet. What I felt wasn't panic. It was disbelief. A slow, hollow kind of realization creeping through me like frostbite. Like walking into a prank show where no one ever yells, "Gotcha." The fridge was humming. The heat was still on. My suitcase sat by the door, zipped, ready to go. Everything looked normal except for the fact that my family had vanished. They didn't forget me. They left me. I checked Instagram, Facebook, nothing. No road trip begins. Selfies. No boomerangs of hot chocolate or packed cars. The group chat, the one we'd used to coordinate the trip, was silent. Dead. That silence told me everything. This wasn't an accident. It was planned. Then I remembered my uncle. He never changes his number. I dialed it, heart hammering. He picked up after 2 rings, his voice slightly out of breath. "Hey, where are you?" he asked. "At home," I said slowly. "In the kitchen? Why?" There was a pause, a faint crackle on the line. Then I heard laughter in the background, muffled voices, tires crunching snow, the faint buzz of conversation. "Oh," he said, hesitating. Did no one text you?" "Nope." Another laugh behind him. "Someone, my cousin, I think, called out. Tell her we said hi." Then another voice. My older brother's unmistakable tone, loud and arrogant. Honestly, it's kind of nice without the sarcasm patrol for once. Then my sister's voice, giggling. "Don't tell her that." My uncle cleared his throat. "So, they left early this morning. Changed the plan last minute. Thought it'd be funny. You know how your brother is. Funny?" I repeated. The word burned in my mouth. "They figured you'd catch up later," he added quickly. You've got your car, right? 5 hours isn't bad. You could be here by dinner. They left your resort pass at the check-in desk. I stared at the counter, at the grocery list, still pinned to the fridge, my handwriting, my ink. Thanks for letting me know, I said quietly and hung up. I didn't scream. I didn't throw the phone. I just stood there, staring at the faint reflection of myself in the kitchen window. People always say betrayal hits like a punch, but this wasn't a punch. It was slower, colder, like falling into a frozen lake and realizing no one's coming to pull you out. And the worst part, this wasn't new. Not really. My family had always had a unique sense of humor, the kind that always came at my expense. I was the one who could take a joke, which somehow meant I didn't get to have feelings when the jokes went too far. When my siblings switched my shampoo with honey just for laughs. When they replaced the candles on my birthday cake with hot sauce-flavored ones and my mom laughed so hard she cried. When my dad said, "Relax, it's just a bit of fun." After I found my bed sheets in the freezer. You tell yourself it's harmless. You tell yourself they love you, that it's just their way. Until one day you wake up and realize you were never in on the joke. You were the joke. I didn't go to college. Not because I didn't want to, but because someone had to work. My older brother had burned through a loan trying to start a business. And when it failed, my parents called it a learning experience. Meanwhile, I got a full-time job at 18 and started paying bills just to help out. At first, it was small things. The electric bill, then the water, then the Wi-Fi, then groceries. Eventually, the mortgage, just until things stabilize, they said. That was 4 years ago. My siblings, they were all still in school or figuring things out. Somehow that clause never applied to me. My younger brother once told me, "It's not like you're paying for everything. You live here too." As if my drafty little room in the back of the house counted as fair rent. You want to know the last time someone in my family said thank you? I don't remember either. Still, I looked forward to that vacation. I thought it might finally feel like we were a family again. I helped plan it, even suggested we rent a cabin near the lake to save money. My sister rolled her eyes and my mom said, "It's already handled. Just bring snacks." They started a group chat for logistics, but apparently there were two. The real one and the decoy one I was in. I didn't find out until later. Of course, the real one had all the updates, jokes, pictures. The other was for me, so I wouldn't suspect a thing. Still, I packed my bag, paid my share, covered part of the Airbnb deposit because my brother was broke and my sister's tuition had gone up. I didn't mind. I wanted to belong. The night before the trip, I cleaned the house, charged the car battery, restocked the medicine drawer, all the little invisible things that make a family function. And then Christmas Eve came and they were gone. No note, no message, no goodbye, just silence. The kind of silence you don't unhear. 5 days later, they came back. But I wasn't there, and neither was the fridge. I didn't see their faces, but my neighbor did. The one I sometimes helped with her trash cans. She called me the next day, her voice careful. "I saw your family return," she said softly. Something seemed wrong. Wrong is one word for it. There was shouting. I heard that from more than one person. The kind of shouting that carries across driveways and makes dogs bark. Not the cheerful kind. Not the welcome home kind. The couch was gone. The internet didn't work. The washer and dryer were missing. So were a few shelves, the microwave, and apparently my spice rack, which caused an entire argument on its own. No, really. Someone actually yelled, "Why would he take the cinnamon?" They thought they'd been robbed. Until my brother checked their footage and saw me carrying out the last box. Calm as anything, locking the door behind me like I was headed out for groceries. At the time, I was sitting in my new place, a small second bedroom in my best friend's apartment. Nothing fancy, just clean, quiet mine. I was eating leftover soup and watching a dumb movie on a borrowed tablet when my phone buzzed. Then again and again. By the time I turned it over, there were 52 missed calls. Most from my mom, a handful from my sister, even a couple from my older brother, which surprised me since I can't remember the last time. He called me directly. Then came the text. "Where are you? We're calling the police. This is insane. You've gone too far. You need to come home and fix this." I didn't reply. I read them slowly, one by one, and then I set the phone face down and went back to my soup. I hadn't planned on this, not at first, but after the phone call from my uncle, after I realized they'd all gone off without me on purpose, laughing, joking, thinking it was just another prank, I couldn't sit there and pretend it didn't mean anything because it did. It meant everything. I didn't pack in a rage. I didn't tear through the house grabbing things out of spite. It was quieter than that. Quieter than it should have been. I took what was mine. No more, no less. The fridge that was mine. I paid for it when the old one broke and everyone else forgot to chip in the washer and dryer. Same story. Bought with my bonus 2 years ago when my dad said we didn't need new ones. I didn't argue. I just bought them. The couch. Mine. Microwave me again. Wi-Fi all under my name. It changed passwords. Cancelled accounts. Turned in service terminations for every utility that came out of my paycheck. I left the key in the mailbox and walked out like I was finally clocking off from a job I never signed up for. The police came 2 days after. They returned. Not sirens blaring dramatic. Just a quiet knock on the door of my new place. The officer was polite, mid-40s. Looked tired, like someone had sent him on an errand. He didn't agree with your family. Reported you missing, he said, inaudited. They're also claiming some possible theft. I stepped aside and let them in. Sat him down at the small kitchen table. Then I pulled out a folder I'd been keeping for years. Warranties, invoices, receipts, screenshots, bills, every major item I'd bought. I handed it over without a word. He flipped through it slowly. I watched his eyes pause over the fridge invoice, the Wi-Fi contract, the washer set, had closed the folder, rested his hands on it. You've really been covering all of this. I nodded again. He was quiet for Emma. Then do you want to give them your address? Let them know you're safe. No. I said they don't need to know where I am. I'm not missing. I just left. He gave a small nod, then passed the folder back. You're not in trouble, honestly. I wish half the people we get called on were this organized. Has paused at the door. You sure you don't want me to pass along a message? I looked at him, really looked, and shook my head. No. If they want answers, they can try paying for their own groceries. For once, he gave me a dry smile. Fair enough. I thought that would be the end of it. But they weren't done. Days after the police visit, my parents showed up at my job. I work a standard office job, fintech customer support, mostly spreadsheets and small talk. It's the last place you expect to be ambushed by your mother. But there they were. I got a message from reception. Your parents are here. Is everything okay? I stepped into the lobby and saw them. My dad in his usual pressed polo. My mom in her winter coat and that tight look she gets when she's trying not to cry or scream. They looked like they'd aged 5 years and 5 days. Can we talk? She said. I didn't answer. My dad stepped forward. You're seriously doing all this over a prank? That was the first thing out of his mouth. Natar, are you okay? Not we're sorry. Just you're being ridiculous. I didn't say anything. You need to come home. My mom said. This has gone too far. We need to fix this. I looked at her. Really looked. You need help. And this is still your house too. You can't just run away. That's when I spoke. You left me first, I said. Remember? She opened her mouth, closed it. My dad tried again, voice rising. Something about bills and responsibility and maturity. If you don't leave, I said quietly, I'll call security. They stood there for a beat longer. My mom looked stunned. Mad looked furious. But they left. Not quietly, not gracefully, but they left. That night, I sat on the tiny balcony of the new apartment with a cup of tea and a blanket around my shoulders. The air was cold, but I didn't mind. My phone buzzed on the table beside me. Another message, another voicemail. I didn't look for the first time in a long time. I didn't feel like I was bracing for something. I wasn't waiting for someone to yell my name or ask where the Wi-Fi password went or demand to know who was covering the gas bill. I just sat there, let the silence stay mine for once. A couple of weeks went by. I didn't hear much from them directly. They'd finally stopped calling. Or maybe they figured out I wasn't going to pick up. Either way, the silence was nice. I filled it with small things. Grocery runs, quiet dinners, a new job routine that didn't involve being the default handyman or emotional punching bag. But the silence didn't mean they were done. I got my updates from other people. The neighbor, my cousin. Once even someone from my mom's church group sent me a very long, very uninvited message that began with, "You don't know how hard this has been on your parents." Apparently, things were falling apart back at the house. The Wi-Fi had finally gone out when the temporary modem ran out of prepaid data. My sister blamed my younger brother for not replacing it. He blamed her for changing the streaming passwords and locking him out of her Netflix profile. The electricity bill had gone unpaid for over a month. And someone had to borrow money to stop the shut-off. The fridge replaced with a cheap second-hand one that made a constant humming noise. Musin described it as sad, which I didn't ask her to do, but thanks. No one seemed to know who was responsible for what anymore the way I heard it. Every time someone opened their mouth, it turned into a fight. The group chat they used to exclude me dead. No one replied to anything anymore. That probably would have been enough for me to know. It was crumbling that the house I held up for years with quiet labor and automatic payments was finally too heavy for them to carry. But then they showed up. It was a Friday evening. I just come back from work, tossed my bag in the chair, kicked off my shoes. My roommate was making pasta in the kitchen and complaining about someone microwaving fish in the office break room again. That's when the buzzer rang. I assumed it was delivery. I'd ordered dish soap and new sheets. I almost didn't check, but something told me to look through the security camera feed first. And there they were, all three of them. My sister, my younger brother, me older brother, standing outside the apartment building like it was a sitcom reunion. My sister even had a little bag of snacks in one hand like she thought this was some kind of olive branch. To this day, I still don't know how they got my address. Certainly not from me, but I imagine it took some effort. Funny what people can pull together when they're motivated by the right kind of panic. I didn't buzz them in right away. I stood at the door for a long moment, then opened it myself and walked down. "Hey," my sister said. All sunshine and casual charm, like we hadn't spent Christmas in two different dimensions. We were in the area and thought, why not stop by? Sure, just happened to be in the neighborhood of a building you weren't supposed to know I lived in. I didn't say anything. We've been talking. My older brother said we wanted to, clear the air, make things right, my younger brother added, trying for sincerity. And landing somewhere closer to high school, group project energy. They asked if they could come up. I didn't want them in my space, but I also wanted to hear what they were trying to sell. So, I let them in. We sat in the living room. They offered me chips from the bag. I declined and they started slow, laughing about past pranks, playing it off like we didn't realize how much it hurt you and we didn't mean anything by it. I didn't interrupt. They said they missed me, that it hadn't been the same without me. We even started doing game nights again. My sister said brightly, like when we were kids, "You should come." That's when I started to get the itch, the warning bell, because we didn't have game nights as kids. Not really. That was a thing. I tried to start once when I was 15 and lonely. They mocked me for it. But here they were selling nostalgia they didn't actually own. And then came the slip. My older brother, reaching for his water, said casually, and I mean honestly, if you move back, it would just help stabilize things, financially. There it was. The truth. The reason they tracked down my address, the reason they were sitting on my borrowed couch trying to smile like nothing happened, it wasn't about family. It wasn't about missing me. It was about money. About losing the person who made the mortgage payments quietly, who paid the Wi-Fi bill, the groceries, the streaming services, the washer, the dryer, the fridge, the background noise of their lives. They never thought to question. It stood up. "You need to leave," I said. My sister blinked. "What? You can finish your chips in the hallway, but you're leaving." My younger brother looked at me like I'd slapped him. "But we're trying," he started. "No," I said, "you're trying to put things back the way they were." That's not the same. They left. Not yelling this time, not storming, just awkward, confused, brittle silence. Like they hadn't prepared for that answer. Like they still thought I'd cave. Weeks passed. Eventually, I heard the rest through my cousin again. After that visit, things got worse. Everyone started blaming each other. My younger brother said it was my sister's idea to leave me behind in the first place. She said it was my older brother. He swore it was just group energy. They stopped speaking altogether. One by one they moved out. My sister moved in with a friend. My younger brother went to stay with a classmate. My older brother couch hopped for a while, then ended up in a rented room an hour outside the city. My parents, unable to carry the mortgage alone, sold the house, moved into a cramped rental in a town no one can pronounce. The group chat deleted. Family dinners gone. Everyone's living separate lives now, spread across places they never wanted to end up. No one speaks. Not really. Not to each other. Certainly not to me. The other night, Imati dinner with my roommate. Just pasta and sauce. Nothing fancy. We opened a cheap bottle of wine and watched something trashy on TV. At one point, he looked over and said, "You've been smiling a lot more lately." You know that I hadn't noticed. but I believed him after he went to bed. I sat out on the little balcony, blanket over my knees, mug of tea in my hand, just breathing in the cold, still air, no noise, no texts, no weight on my chest, just peace. I didn't want revenge. I just wanted to be free, and now I am. They used to say I wasn't really part of the family. Turns out they were right. I was the foundation, and they didn't notice until I walked out. Sometimes I still wonder if I went too far. Not often, but sometimes. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. And if you want more stories like this, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell.